What's going on, guys? Just waiting on the other stream. Perfect. Here we go. So today is going to be a little bit of a different kind of podcast. And I was debating whether or not to actually do this, but I feel like it's going to be a very useful one for a lot of people out there. So I decided to go for it. So just to put it into context a little bit, a guy, not somebody that was like a super close friend of mine, but a guy that I've gotten to know a little bit over the past year or so. He's part of my business coaching program. Like they've built an absolutely incredible community. He passed away last week very suddenly, and I'm not going to get too in depth on that because I always find it's a strange topic when someone that you know, even if you don't know him super well, I always find it's a bit of a strange topic to speak about. And but why I did want to touch on it a little bit today is just basically getting into who this guy was and why, even though I didn't know him super well, his death hit me as hard as it did. So we're going to get going into the podcast, and we are going to get going now in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. Today we are going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about life as a whole. We're not going to be focusing in so much on athletics, but let's get into why. Now, like I said before the broadcast started, last week, a guy that I didn't know super, super well, but I'd gotten to know a little bit over the last year through my business coaching program, passed away. And he passed away really suddenly. And after he passed away, I came to learn that he was, I believe 2 days before he passed, it was his 7th anniversary of being sober. And the next day he was supposed to be going down to a bodybuilding show where he was going to be going for his pro card, something that he'd been working towards for a very long time. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about Mike today is that this passing hit me a lot harder than I was expecting for somebody that I didn't know super well. And I'm going to talk about why I believe that is, and then how this can, how this is going to help me moving forward, but also how this can help you moving forward too. So like I said, Mike was 7 years sober, which, obviously if anyone's been through any kind of addiction or anything like that, I'm sure you can imagine how big of an accomplishment that is. But on top of that, this guy had been working this corporate job, kind of just getting through the days, making good money, but not really loving where he was at. And I remember on these Zoom calls hearing him, talking about his job and how he was trying to grow this business to help coach people and, help people with their fitness. But he was doing it on top of the corporate job. And eventually he got to the point where he quit the job and he went all in on this business that he had wanted to do forever. So, at 40 years old, he's finally taking that step to work towards what he actually wants in life versus just, making the money to put food on the table to make sure that everything's okay. And over the next probably 6 months after he had decided, it was time and he had actually finally quit his job and gone all in on it, he ended up joining a team that was, hiring new coaches. And so he was starting to work for this company, DIY Body, that is just, they're absolutely crushing it when it comes to the bodybuilding scene, when it comes to, the competition prep for like physique shows and stuff like that. These guys are like unparalleled, one of the best companies in the world. And so he started working for them as a head coach a couple of months into going all in and quitting that job. And eventually, like, his whole life just started to explode. Like, he was making unbelievable money. He was doing what he loved every single day. And just the energy that this dude brought to every one of these calls he was on, he'd come on and somebody would ask him, Mike, how's everything going? And he would just be so full of love and happiness. And just like, man, he was just one of the nicest guys I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And the reason that I believe that it hit me so hard hearing the news of his passing was exactly that reason. Because he was living embodiment of what it means to actually chase a dream. I speak to so many people that they have these big dreams or these big goals. They want to be a pound for pound great combat athlete, or they want to, make the UFC, or they want to make their living competing in their sports. But so much of their time is spent on the backup plan. So much of their time is spent on, well, I'm going to make sure that I go find this job so that it can pay me so that, if it doesn't work out, I've got something to fall back on. And that's the way this dude was living. And you could just see the energy shift when he got rid of the backup plan. And that's something that, again, I'm not here saying that, you can't have a backup plan in life. I'm not here saying that, everybody's going to be successful if they just try really hard to be successful. There's obviously a lot more to it than that. But really, it was always such a pleasure being on these calls with this guy, because you just sense that energy shift. You sense that love and desire of what he was doing. He was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day, grinding his ass off to build this company that he'd wanted forever. And he was just in such a great place. And then it was all just taken away. And it really reinforced with me that every day we're here, we don't know how long we're going to be here. And if we don't know how long we're going to be here, why are we focusing our time on the backup plans? Why are we focusing our time on, negative bullshit? Why are we focusing our time on anything but living at the absolute best that we can live? Because that's something as well that I get so much from people that know me, well, why do you work so much? Oh, you just need to take breaks. Oh, you need to take a day off. Oh, you got to go do something fun. It's like, enjoy your life a little bit. It's like, oh, you're going to regret working so much when you're older. I'm like, guys, I fucking love this. It's like the reason that I do this so much, the reason that I spend so much time on it, the reason that I, work as hard as I do is because there's nothing in the world that I want to do more. There's nothing in the world I want to do more. And that's why I wanted to speak about Mike today. And one of the other things too is I got to meet him actually in person at one of the events that our program threw in Kelowna in January. And I remember him speaking at one point, and he spoke about how scary it was to, quit his job, actually bet on himself, actually make the decision to go all in on this thing that he'd wanted to do for so long. And he said that his reason why he did it was his kids. And I know a lot of people are listening to that and they're thinking, well, why would he quit a corporate job? Why would he quit a job that was paying him good money because of his kids? Wouldn't he want to keep that job so that he could keep his kids, comfortable and safe and all that? And he spoke about the reason that he quit his job, the reason that he decided to bet on himself was because he wanted to be the example for his kids. He wanted to be the example to show his kids, you can do whatever you put your mind to. He wanted to be the example to show his kids that it's more important to bet on yourself than it is to just be safe and be comfortable. And I remember thinking that was so inspiring. And that was one of the biggest pieces that I took away from that event in January was no matter how hard you're going, no matter what it is you're doing, there's always more you can do. And, I've heard athletes talk about that before too. Oh, I can't invest in a coach. I can't move. I can't, do these things. I can't really bet on myself because my kids are relying on me, or, my family's relying on me, or I need that steady paycheck. And yeah, those all might be legitimate reasons, but you also might not be here tomorrow. And it was just, so sad to see somebody that was just in the best place that he could be. So sad to see somebody that was just, so full of joy, full of love, full of care, get taken from the world. But even more so, it was so sad to see somebody that was living as the example that so many of us need be taken from the world. So I guess if anything that I want people to take away from this is that you only have one shot. and you don't know how long that one shot is. And if you spend that shot, working the safe job to pay the bills and put food on the table, etc., you might be fine. You might be okay. But the true level of joy and happiness and positivity you can bring to yourself and to the world and to future generations is betting on yourself. Mike, from being in the program, I believe Mike had been truly all in, focused on his goals without sitting on the backup plan for 8 months to a year before he passed away. But that 8 months to a year, you could just see was the best time of his entire life, because he was doing what he was meant to do. He was doing what he truly wanted to do in the world. And so to all of the young athletes coming up right now, to all of the people that are listening to this, to everybody that, again, has lost somebody else, I want you to think, if it was all taken away tomorrow, would you be happy with where you're at right now? If it was all taken away tomorrow, would you be working the same way that you're working right now? If it was all taken away tomorrow, would you be okay with how you're spending today? And that was something that, as soon as I started looking at that, as soon as I started thinking about that, that's what really hit me when I heard of Mike's passing. And that's what I hope to pass on with this episode to all of you as well. Is that we don't know how long our shot is. And so why would you want to spend any of that time on anything but making the dreams you have for your life come true, on anything but going as hard as you can towards what you actually want? So whether that's a young athlete that wants to, build their athletic career and go all in on becoming a professional athlete and making their living doing what they love to do, whether that's someone in my position that is, building a business for themselves, focusing on something that they love to do, whether that, no matter what it is, coming back to that feeling, coming back to that thought, coming back to that realization that it can all be gone that fast. And if it was to be taken away from you today, tomorrow, would you be happy with where you're at today? And so, for everybody that I know knew Mike, for his family, the people in his life that I didn't get to meet, I just wanted to wrap this up by saying I'm so sorry for everybody that knew him, that lost him. And then just to really leave it with the inspiration he gave me, which was, the reason to go all in on yourself is the example that you set for other people. The reason to do things on your terms, do the things you truly want to do, push yourself in the way you truly want to push yourself, is the example you set for other people and the example you set for yourself. I know there's a lot more that I want to do with my life. There's a lot more that I want to build when it comes to the business I'm building, when it comes to the athletes I'm working with, all of these things. But I know that if it was all taken away from me tomorrow, I'd be happy with the path I'm on right now. I'd be happy pushing in the direction that I'm pushing right now. I'd be happy with how I spent today if that was the last day. And that's what I want all of you guys to think about as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Again, I appreciate you all for taking the time to tune in. I appreciate you all for listening. And I hope that this was valuable to you. This was a little bit of a brain dump for me, a little bit of, kind of personal therapy, if you will. So I appreciate you, listening to my thoughts here. I hope this was valuable to you as well. And Mike, rest in peace. Even though I didn't know you very, very well, you were an inspiration to me. And I appreciate the little bit of time that I did get to know you. And to his family as well. I hope you guys are all able to find peace with Mike's passing. So thank you all again. I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing day, and we'll talk again soon.